went through my full record, CD, and cassette collection, and these are the albums I thought were so great that I had to have them across all formats. My name is Geraldine, and if you've never seen me before, I make videos over on Instagram and TikTok showing all of my vinyl and hi-fi collection, so if you want to see more of me, make sure to check those out. I thought the perfect album to start this off with is like one of the greatest albums of all time, and that is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. I think everything that could ever be said about this album has been said before, but it is so great. And it is one of the most iconic album covers of all time. My favorite track on this is Us and Them. So I have this on vinyl, but not only do I have one copy, I have 3 copies, but I'm only showing 2 here. I have it on CD, and I have 2 cassette copies. Next is another super classic album. I think a lot of these are going to be classic albums if I had to have multiple of them. So it is the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Like the previous album, this album cover is super iconic and all the tracks on these are really great. This is not my favorite Beatles album. My favorite Beatles album is always between Rubber Soul and Revolver, but this one's pretty great too. My favorite song on this would have to be A Day in the Life. So I have it on vinyl, on CD, and cassette. Next we have The Who. Who's Next? This one has the iconic song Baba O'Reilly. Well, it has a whole bunch of iconic songs, but that one you have to play super loud on your stereo system. I was obsessed with the track Going Mobile for a little bit, so that would have to be my favorite track on this. So I have this on vinyl, CD, and cassette. Next, for something a little more psychedelic, we have The Doors' Self-Titled. This is an album that I think everybody should have in their collection because it's just so perfect all the way through. It's really hard to pick a favorite track on this, but my favorite changes all the time, but it'll have to be Crystal Ship right now. So I have this on vinyl, on CD, and on cassette tape, but it's like a sideways image cassette tape. I've been showing a lot of albums from like the late 60s and 70s, so now we're gonna hop over to the 90s with Depeche's Mode, Violator. Wait, hold on, what did I say? I know I'm gonna get roasted in the comments for how I said Depeche's Mode, but sometimes the words just don't come out of my mouth correctly, and to all the Depeche Moders that I let down, I want to tell you that I am not a fake fan. I listen to their music almost every day, actually literally every day, so please don't roast me that hard in the comments. Continue on with the video while I try to forget I even said that. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. It is so good. It just had a 34th anniversary the other day. Picking a favorite track on this is very difficult for me, but if I look at the track listing, it is impossible for me to choose, but I think it's gonna have to be Enjoy the Silence because that song is so iconic and it like transcends time. I don't know, it's so great and you hear it all the time because it is such an amazing song. So I have that on vinyl. On CD, I actually have 2 copies on CD because one is for home and one is for the car, and cassette. Next, for some more Depeche Mode, but more earlier Depeche Mode. So we have Catching Up with Depeche Mode. This compilation album is a bunch of their earlier singles, so it is packed with a whole bunch of iconic songs. Another one that is really hard for me to pick a favorite because every song is so good, but right now my favorite would have to be Fly on the Windscreen. So I have this on vinyl, CD, and cassette tape. Next, for another greatest hits album, I have Billy Joel's Greatest Hits Volumes 1 and 2. My favorite track would have to be Uptown Girl. That was like the first Billy Joel song I ever listened to. So I have it on vinyl, double CD, and double cassette. Next, we have an album that I've been listening to a lot lately, and that is Asia's Steely Dan. Oh no, I did it again. I apologize to my fellow Steely Dan enjoyers. I am a fellow Steely Dan enjoyer, so please don't get mad at me that I said Asia Steely Dan, not Steely Dan's Asia. Please continue with the video. There are no more mistakes from here on out. I've had this album show up in a couple of my videos in the background and everybody always points it out because it is so good and it sounds so great on vinyl. My favorite track would have to be Josie, so I have this on vinyl, CD, and cassette tape. Next album is Fleetwood Mac, Tango in the Night. You'd probably expect me to have Rumors across multiple formats, but I'm missing that one on CD. But I think this is a really great album, even though some people mostly focus on their like 70s stuff. But my favorite track on this is Everywhere. So I have this on vinyl, CD, and a really crusty cassette tape with no J card, just the crusty tape. Next, we have more of the Beatles. We have the Beatles Blue album, which is kind of weird that I have this across all three because I'm more of a Red album girl. This one has all their hits from their later years. So I don't know what my favorite track on this would have to be. It's probably, my favorite track on this is Something. So I have this on vinyl. I recently just got it on CD and I have it on cassette. Next, from another band I've already shared right now, and it is Pink Floyd. I have The Wall. So my favorite track on this would have to be Another Brick in the Wall. I just love that song so much. And I have this on vinyl on double CD. And I actually don't have, I actually don't have it on cassette, so I'm sort of cheating, but I thought an 8-track is pretty similar to a cassette tape, so I have it on 8-track. And this just reminds me that I showed you Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and I actually have the 8-track of that. Next, an album that you find at the thrift store all the time, and it is Herb Alpert's Whipped Cream and Other Delights. This is an album that you will find literally anywhere, and if you never picked it up, definitely pick it up because it's actually pretty great. My favorite track would have to be Lady Fingers, so I have this on vinyl. On CD, and another one that I don't have on cassette tape, but I think a pretty similar thing to a cassette tape is a reel-to-reel, and I actually have 2 copies of this on, wait, let me open it. On reel-to-reel, and both of the reels look different. That one's like a clear one and this one's a black one, and they're both 7 they're both 7.5 speed. Next, we are back to the 80s with Yaz, Upstairs at Eric's. I love this album so much. I did not have this album for a pretty long time, and it made me really upset that I did not have it, and I like caved in and bought it on eBay, the vinyl record version. But my favorite track on this, it's really hard to pick, but it's probably Situation. I just love everything about that song. If you're into new wave and synth pop, you should definitely have this in your record collection. So I have it on vinyl. I just got it on CD and I have it on tape. Next, for an album from one of my favorite bands of all time, and that is The Smiths. I got Louder Than Bombs on vinyl a couple of weeks ago for my birthday, and I was super stoked to get it for my collection. This is gonna be really hard to pick a favorite track, but it probably has to be These Things Take Time. So I have it on vinyl, on CD, and on cassette tape, but with no J card with it, just the cassette tape. Next, a super classic album, and it is Led Zeppelin, self-titled, or Led Zeppelin 4. Actually, I have 2 copies, an original and this reissue. I recently was gifted Led Zeppelin's whole discography on vinyl for Christmas, which was pretty dope. Yeah, great album. My favorite track on this is Going to California, so I have it on vinyl, on CD, and cassette tape. Next, for a band that I already shared, and it is The Doors' Greatest Hits. If you do not have their self-titled, then you should definitely have their greatest hits. My favorite song on this is probably between Love Me Two Times or People Are Strange, so I have this on vinyl. I don't know if this CD counts. It's the best of the Doors, not the Doors' greatest hits, but it's sort of the same. And I have the cassette tape, the exact one like the vinyl record. Next, for a super iconic 80s album, we have Michael Jackson's Thriller. Like the hype sticker said, this is one of the biggest selling albums in music history. So it's definitely one you should have on vinyl. My favorite song on this would have to be, I don't know, every song is so good. I think my favorite song on this is Wanna Be Startin' Something. So I have it on vinyl, the 25th anniversary CD, and on cassette tape. Next, for some more 80s, we got a girl group. We have the Go-Go's, Beauty and the Beat. It still has the original hype sticker with it. My favorite track on this is probably, I'm gonna be pretty basic, but I think it has to be We Got the Beat because it's so iconic and upbeat and I don't know, just a fun song to listen to. So I have it on vinyl, on CD, and on cassette tape, but no J card with this one either. Just 2 more albums left, and the next one is a soundtrack from the 80s. We have the La Bamba soundtrack. I love this movie so much. I watched it like a few weeks ago. It's pretty sad, but you should definitely watch it if you've never seen it. But my favorite track on this is probably We Belong Together, but it's performed by Los Lobos, not Richie Valens. So I have it on vinyl, on CD, and on cassette tape. And lastly, we have the B-52's Cosmic Thing. So this is such a great album all the way through, even though it has like 2 really big tracks, Rome and a Love Shack. If you have never listened to the whole thing, you should definitely listen to it. My favorite track is probably Junebug. So I have it on vinyl, which is pretty hard to get on vinyl, and on CD, and on cassette tape. So those are all the albums I have across vinyl, CD, and tape. Let me know if you like buying your favorite albums across multiple formats and tell me what they are. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a like. And if you want to see more of my videos, make sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.